As a reminder, please mute yourself as you enter the hearing. For those presenting, please ensure your audio and video are functioning. Good afternoon. This is a hearing before the Boston Cannabis Board, the BCB. Today is August 9th, 2023. Today's hearing is being conducted pursuant to certain temporary amendments to the open meeting law. This is what allows us to meet virtually. This hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review some procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce. Thank you, Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you, Allison. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm chair of the Boston Cannabis Board, and today I'm joined by fellow commissioners, Commissioner Lisa Holmes, Commissioner John Smith, and Commissioner Gabriel Camacho.
My name is Allison Quinn, and I am the Boston Cannabis Board project manager. I will begin by reading each item into the record as they appear on the agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the proposal before us. We will begin with amendments to already approved licenses. They will have 5 minutes each to present to the board, followed by questions from the board members. We will then move to the new license applications, where the applicants will have 10 minutes to present to the BCB, followed by questions from the board members. We will then take public testimony, beginning with elected officials or the representatives, followed by the general public. If you wish to testify, I'll be sharing a link in the chat. If you have already done so, you don't have to do this again. Additionally, you may use the chat function to request to testify as well. Please wait until the matter in which you would like to speak about is called. Do not use the chat to give testimony. It will not be considered. Please state your full name, address, and affiliation, if any. Testimony will be limited to 2 minutes, at which time you will be muted. Additional testimony may be submitted in writing to cannabisboard@boston.gov. The record will be kept open until Tuesday, August 15th at 5 p.m. The BCB does not give any more weight to spoken testimony than it does written testimony. We will begin with the first item. The applicant is New Dia Fenway, LLC DBA New Dia. The licensed premise is 48 through 62 Brookline Avenue, Fenway. The license type is retail recreational cannabis dispensary, and the license request is to amend the operating hours from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week to 10 a.m. to midnight 7 days a week. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning. Good afternoon, Ms. Quinn, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is Dennis Quilty. I'm the attorney representing the applicant. With me this morning is the principal of New Dia, Ross Bradshaw. Good afternoon, everyone. And as indicated, the request before you this afternoon is to extend the hours of operation. This is a very busy, a very commercial location, surrounded by many entertainment venues, the Red Sox, Fenway Park, obviously, House of Blues, MGM Studio, MGM Music Hall, and many bars and restaurants. Very few residents, and the foot traffic is very high in this location. Of course, throughout the evening, and especially when there are functions going on at House of Blues, MGM, and Fenway Park, but almost every day of the week, the Lansdowne Street and surrounding area bars and restaurants provide a great deal of foot traffic, and we would simply like to be able to take advantage of that. In regard to preparations for today, we attended a meeting held by the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services and a Butters meeting on June 28th. At that meeting, the Red Sox were represented, the Kenmore Association, which is the Kenmore residents and the Kenmore businesses, were represented. And I know we made independent outreach to the Fenway Civic Association, and in these undertakings, we received no opposition. It was a very healthy discussion the night of our meeting, but a general agreement that Mr. Bradshaw is a good operator, and they were willing to allow this extended hour, if you will, to take place. So if I may just introduce Mr. Bradshaw to further clarify the application. Ross, can you
Yep.
introduce yourself?
Pleasure to meet everyone. Thank you to the commission. Dennis, thank you for that introduction as well. I just want to be very respectful of everyone's time. So I just wanted to share a couple of images that I think capture what we are looking for with the extension of hours. Allison, can I just share the screen?
Sure. Oh,
Or
are you able to share?
I
Do you have it as it should be an option on your,
can you see my screen now?
hold on a minute. Um, I can't, hold on.
If not, it really is just the one image that I sent you. I don't know if it's easier.
Okay, you want to try now?
Okay. Now can you see my screen?
No, let me see if I can figure out. I'm sorry, this is my first time.
No worries.
Is it something you can drop into the chat, maybe? No?
Let's see.
I'm happy to send as an attachment as well following this. But essentially what it shows is our storefront during the hours of 10:45 and 11 p.m. 10:45 p.m. and 11 p.m. And you'll be able to see in the images a significant amount of traffic outside our doors. So I know a number of the surrounding dispensaries have had their hours extended to 11. But just given our location, I think there are some additional challenges that we need to be aware of. And in our case, what we've been able to observe and notice is that that's typically when House of Blues, MGM, any type of event going on at the Red Sox at Fenway Park, that's actually when they're leaving. So that's when we see a significant amount of traffic come through our doors. And so for us, with that additional hour of extended hours to midnight, that's when we'd be able to wind down our operations, make sure that we can complete any online orders, and then also tend to anyone in our stores. The one other unique factor that we've been able to observe is that we tend to see a lot of tourists, a lot of folks that spend more time than they would typically in other dispensaries, anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. So that additional hour, we view almost no different than a lot of the bars that operate in the areas. They wouldn't necessarily close their doors at 11. What they would do is they'd have some amount of time to wind down, to complete their operations and close their doors in an efficient and compliant manner. And that's ultimately what we're looking to do with our extension to midnight, if allowed.
And I think if I may just add to that, I think what I'm remembering now, especially the Kenmore group, the ask that they have was that we be closed at midnight, not winding down, but that we'd wind down between the 11 and midnight and be closed for business, everybody out by midnight, which of course, as you all know, is
I don't know how to find the
2 hours before the bars and nightclubs and restaurants are ceasing business, if you will. So it's hopefully would not compete with persons exiting from all the bars, restaurants, and music facilities on the street.
Okay.
So can you give me, I'm going to defer to my fellow commissioners, but can you give me an idea of when you'd stop the last sale?
Yeah, so the last sale would have to occur before midnight based on state regulations. So in no case, no manner would we allow that, wouldn't be allowed to happen within our POS system. So we would stop the last transaction ideally around 11:45. And ideally what we would do is cut people off at the door around 11:30, 11:45, depending upon how, the event that's going on in the area. From day to day, it really depends on the foot traffic that we see. We're still learning the neighborhood too in terms of what brings the most people to the area. But I think that additional hour allows us to really have an idea of who's coming out of those venues at that time of day, that time of night.
Okay, I'm going to defer to my other commissioners for other questions about this. Thank you. Commissioner Holmes?
Yes, I do have a question. We don't allow liquor stores to stay open till midnight, so why do you think we should extend this extra hour to cannabis?
Well, I mean, if I could answer, I think the major difference is that the state law is 11 p.m. for package licenses throughout the Commonwealth. And in this case, the state allows cannabis facilities to be open until midnight. I mean, that's the max hour, but that's it. So, I mean, every package store in the Commonwealth has to close at 11.
I'm just thinking right now, processing.
I mean, just the law allows it where it does not allow.
The law allows a lot of things that we don't allow in real life, but
Right. Right.
but I get you. That's why. Okay, because it's allowed by the state until midnight.
Correct. Yes.
And is it now? I was listening to Mr. Ross. Are you allowed to sell up to midnight, or are you allowed to be open? And I think now, listening to what Ross said, your establishment can be open, but all sales must be concluded by midnight.
Yes, that's my understanding, because technically it's a different day after
Right.
midnight, so
Okay.
last sales would have to occur before midnight.
Okay. All right. That's my question, and that's the answer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Allison. So, Mr. Ross, so you're saying that you see an upsurge in terms of people and around midnight? If they're coming out at around midnight? Is that where you see an upsurge in terms of folks coming out of clubs and so forth around midnight?
So currently we're closed at 9 p.m.
Right.
What we notice is that MGM, House of Blues, a lot of the events in the area, yes, they get out around 10:45, 11, sometimes a little later, depending on the artist that's performing. And what we tend to notice is that Lansdowne tends to, at least that surge of traffic tends to dwindle down around 11:30, 11:45.
Oh, it dwindles. Okay. It dwindles at that time.
Yeah, and then you obviously have folks that are still kicking around, going to the bars, but it's nowhere near that initial surge that occurs between 10:30 and 11:30.
I
So
think
that's
it's
the
just,
type-
Commissioner,
that-
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, sir.
I'm just, yeah, I think the point is that the music facilities, as the House of Blues and MGM in particular, most of the performances end roughly 10 o'clock, 10:30. So you've got a lot of people on the street between the hours of like 10:30 and 11:30 or 10:30 midnight as they're leaving. I mean, some of them are going to the clubs and restaurants, but others are, passing by on their way home. And obviously the request would be to be able to serve those people and anybody else who's on the street. I mean, it's a very busy pedestrian area because of the proliferation of restaurants, eating facilities, music venues.
Music and all of that. Yeah. So I'm just thinking about when you see that surge between 10:30 and 11:30. So it'd be a very short window in terms of what you guys were providing.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Camacho, do you have any questions?
I have a couple of questions, yes. What is the maximum capacity of customers that you have inside New Dia?
Our certificate occupancy, I believe it's 255.
For customers? Like
Customer,
at any
well, that's
single-
total occupancy in the store, but we wouldn't anticipate ever having that many in the store at one point. That's part in because that was our commitment to being able to ensure that we had a location that was able to serve that many customers, but in no means do we intend to have that many people in the store.
And
And
if I may add, Commissioner, I think it was also part of our application process. People were very pleasantly surprised that we had a large queuing area inside the facility so as to decrease, issues and problems on the street because it is a very busy area. So I think people were very happy with the large size, basically for waiting areas and queuing up.
yeah, I remember the schematic. My second question is probably a little more difficult to answer. What is the average transaction time?
Yeah, so it's actually it's longer than most dispensaries because we are seeing more tourists, more people that are novice to cannabis. So average transaction time is about 15 to 20 minutes, depending upon the event, though, right? And so that's what's unique about our location is during non-event game days, we tend to see folks that are more transactional in and out. Whereas, if we're dealing with someone who's from out of state, those transactions can take a little bit longer. This goes back to Chairwoman Joyce's point, where if we realize we're having a lot of folks that are taking longer with their transactions, we probably cut the door off at 11:30 to ensure that we have sufficient time to finalize those transactions and get them out the door by midnight.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, commissioners. Now we will move to public testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representatives.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. Our office held an abutters meeting, our community meeting, excuse me, where no concerns were raised. The applicant then went on to meet with the Kenmore Association, which shared their support for this application. We're unaware of any concerns at this time. With that, we'd like to defer to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Connor. Are there any other elected officials or other representatives who would like to testify? Seeing none, we'll move on to those who have signed up. We are having a little bit of a technical issue that the chat is disabled. So if you have not been able to sign up and you would like to provide testimony, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any raised hands. Have I missed anyone? Please speak up. Okay. Seeing no additional requests to speak, the board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you, commissioners.
The next item, the applicant is Soft Estate LLC DBA Greenberry. The licensed premise is 879 Blue Hill Avenue in Dorchester. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary. The license request is to change the DBA from Greenberry to Bait Cannabis Dispensary. Secondly, there's petition for a change of ownership interest. Winter Spring Cannabis LLC, Winter Spring, and the Sunny Aristamian Trust proposed to acquire 48.99% of the equity of Soft Estate LLC, the licensee, who is present on behalf of the licensee. And again, you will have 5 minutes to present. You may begin.
Good afternoon, Allison, and good afternoon, BCB. I am here on behalf of Soft Estate. My name is Attorney Alexis Kachuk. I am here with the equity applicant, owner of the business, Shane Cranmore, and the team that he has brought in to assist and mentor him in the cannabis space and assist him with the financial backing. On behalf of those teams are Scott and Kyle. But I'm going to speak quickly to the request. Shane Cranmore was granted a host community agreement by your board on April 16th. 2021. Shane at the time was 100% owner of SAW. He was approved. He received ZBA approval, and Shane has been trying to build up his equity business and finding the right partners to mentor him, to assist him with space. He's a long time small business owner in that area. He and his dad have owned the property in question for decades. So it was really important for them to find the right partners to align with their vision, and that would be a part of this family business for decades to come. They most recently had another public meeting last Wednesday, August 2nd, just to tell the abutters and the community about bringing in potentially new owners, showing them the plans, just making sure everybody felt up to speed since this HCA was signed. A little bit of time has passed and they wanted to make sure that everybody was kept in the loop. There has been no opposition, and I will stop speaking now. If you want to ask questions, Shane will retain 51% ownership, and the other individuals mentioned in the two trusts will be at 24% ownership under this proposed new structure.
Thank you, Alexis. Now we will move to questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Thanks, Allison. Thank you, attorney, for explaining that. And Shane, I think I see you on here, Mr. Cranmore. Will you be, who is responsible for the day-to-day operations?
It'll be one of our partners, Sunny, who currently has 2 stores in the state. I've learned a lot already from him, and I'm just kind of like in a great situation, I think, with this team and the partners that we're here now, and just can't wait to move forward, hopefully.
Okay. And will you be involved at all in the day-to-day operations moving
Yes.
forward? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and how many hours a week do you expect to be on site at this location?
I plan to be there 40 hours a week.
Okay,
Idea would be, Chairwoman, that they mentor him in this space. Shane has previous experience running a bar and a restaurant, so he has worked in a regulatory environment, but not cannabis specific. So
Ye-
the idea would be he would be there full time, but there would be an operations manager that has been doing this in other parts of the state to mentor
Okay.
him and show him what's worked and what hasn't worked.
okay, great, that's helpful. At this point, I have no further questions. Commissioner Holmes?
Good afternoon, Mr. Cranmore.
Good to see
I
you again.
actually have, good to see you. I've actually seen some of the building being built out. Looks great.
Thank you.
So how did you come about these partners? How does this work?
So I had a family friend, kind of like a father figure, my family doctor for a long time, who this is a hard undertaking, and I've been at it, you guys know, for 2 years, kind of like on my own, and with the great help of the equity programs and everybody and my assistants from my firm, Smith, Cosell, and Crawford, I've been able to get to this position to be able to meet different people. And these guys, winter, spring, they do so much work in the community already, as far as their different properties and stuff. It was just a perfect type of relationship, but they've treated me good. This is not somebody that I met yesterday. They've treated me like excellent, being part of everything. It's a lot, and there's a lot that I'm learning as far as the cannabis side of things, but to be involved in every meeting and all the emails is something that, like, I feel blessed to be part of this group. When they came, they didn't say, we have Scott Rubin, who's a great attorney, and I'm learning from him as well, different things, but they wanted to keep the same firm that helped get me here. And I don't think I could be in a better situation as far as feeling like comfortable and with the partners and the team that we have in place.
And you plan on retaining your majority ownership?
Yes,
Not
yes.
going to sell this off to some big.
No, this gives me the opportunity. No, absolutely not. This gives me opportunity to do the things that I want to do in that area.
Yeah.
For 30 years, we've been there, over 35 years, and I just can't wait. It's been 2 years ago, I said I couldn't wait. And now to actually see that we're at the doorstep, it's exciting.
And Winter Spring is a local company?
They're not local. They do different real estate properties in the state.
Gotcha.
And they've done different work in different communities.
So they're local to the state. I get what you're saying. I understand. Okay. Well, I wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Commissioner
you all.
Holmes, as to your question, us Boston girls, we're always thinking alike. Shane will continue to be if approved, continue to be the signatory on the host community agreement. So yes, in terms of the non-transferability and ensuring that his equity applicant status is well represented here in the company, that would be the intention if approved.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Attorney Tuchuk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Commissioner Smith, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Thanks, Allison. Mr. Cranmore, just one question. Does it impact at all, or will it, on any community agreements or anything like that you've made, or commitments?
I'm sorry, will it impact?
Will it have any impact, or does it impact at all on any community agreements you've made or anything like that?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
And that's a beautiful thing too, because, you know, it was a lot to get to this point, but I was able to get to this point without having to, have any promises or anything to anybody that this will impact.
In terms of community, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Camacho, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now we move to public testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representatives. Do we have any elected officials or their representatives that would like to provide testimony? Okay, again, our chat function is disabled. So if there is anyone from the public who would like to provide testimony, please raise your hand. Seeing no additional requests to speak, the board will take this under advisement. Now we move to new license applications. The applicant is Suite 420 Wellness LLC. The proposed licensed premise is 1295 through 1297 River Street in Hyde Park. The license type is recreational retail cannabis dispensary, delivery operator, and product manufacturing licenses. The proposed hours of operation are 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. This is an equity applicant. The date of the initial application was February 9th, 2023. The date of filing with Inspectional Services Department was March 25th, 2023, and the date of the community meeting was May 30th, 2023. Shakia Scott is here to represent the equity status on behalf of the applicant. Ms. Scott, you can proceed.
Thank you, Allison. As Allison said, I'm Shakia Scott. I am currently the cannabis business manager and have certified Suite 420 Wellness. Our office was able to certify Suite 420 Wellness LLC as an equity applicant through the documentation submitted by the applicant, Janice Israel. Janice Israel is the CEO and 100% beneficial interest holder of Suite 420 Wellness, exceeding the 51 ownership interest threshold set forth in the ordinance. Ms. Israel meets the following criteria: a person who has resided in Boston for at least the last 7 years. Ms. Israel submitted copies of utility bills certifying addresses in Boston from 2015 through 2022. She also meets a person who is of Black, African American, Hispanic, Latino, Asian, or Indigenous descent. Ms. Israel self-identifies as African American and provided her birth certificate and driver's license. She also qualifies as a person who has been certified by the CCC as an economic empowerment applicant or social equity applicant and is a resident of Boston for at least one of the last 3 years. Ms. Israel provided her social equity applicant approval letter from the CCC dated 3/25/2020. And as mentioned, Ms. Israel provided documentation certifying that she has lived in Boston since at least 2015. Are there any additional questions about this certification?
No questions. Thank you, Shakia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shakia. Okay. Ms. Israel, I see that you are present. If you will have 10 minutes to present, you may start sharing your screen and begin.
Okay, I don't see the share screen function. Is it open for me?
It should be. We're having a little technical. Can you see it now?
Let me see. Yes,
Okay.
One
Are you
moment.
able to share your screen?
Trying to follow right now. Okay, can you see the screen? Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, I'm just gonna turn it so you can see it right here. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you all for your time this afternoon. I'm Janice Israel, the owner of Suite 420 Wellness. I am proposing to open at 1295-97 River Street in Hyde Park, Cleary Square. As we mentioned before, I'm a minority-owned company. looking to start a vertically integrated cannabis business in Hyde Park, adult use retail, manufacturing and delivery, home delivery. And as we mentioned, social equity and also Boston equity. I'm from Mattapan and lived in Boston majority of my life. This would be vertically integrated with 3 separate licenses, complementary to work in tandem to maximize efficiency and profit and create more employment opportunities through empowering entrepreneurship, especially through the manufacturing license. The go to the next page. We went over most of the timeline. The application was filed beginning in February, plans with ISD filed March 3rd. Community meeting May 30th, July 13th was the ZBA appeal. And also July 13th, there was an in-person community meeting with the Hyde Park Neighborhood Associations and the Hyde Park Police Department. And it was an in-depth look at the business with the opportunities for questions in the community room of the Hyde Park Police Department. And it went very well. It was no opposition. It was very strong feedback during that meeting. And also I have the letter from the district city councilor on July 17th, and it indicates the acknowledgement of a buffer zone discrepancy. So this is Meet the Team, just going over some of the strategic partnerships that I've created. And so we mentioned some of them here. If you can see the screen, we have some Flow Hub, ISG. I'm not sure if the representative from ISG is on the call, but that would be John Grinner. He may be on the call. Adaptive HR, we have the remodeling company. Also on the call is Kathleen O'Shea from Fuss and O'Neill, and that is the engineer to do the traffic study and to verify the distance. And also on the call, we have Jess Mossberg, who is from Kavanaugh Architectural Collaboration, and that's the architect that's working on the project. So the plan for positive community impact is inclusive jobs, extremely secure location, the renovation of the area and building. This area is already planned revitalization with the bridge that is opening up. And so I plan to open in line with some of the revitalization happening in that area. Plans to, of course, have a host community agreement with Boston, increase tax revenues, educational seminars offered to the community, expungement clinics, which I've already started. We had an expungement clinic on August 7th, 2 days ago. So the proposed location is 3,600 square feet of retail space, and it's in line with other commercial and retail stores. The zoning for the space is a shopping center. The proposed hours are 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. We talked about the River Street Bridge closure. Even with the closure, the area is still currently open to pedestrians. And we talked about the new bridge project. So the location is ideal for the business because it's a unique commercial business area with access to public parking and public transportation. It is not located within 500 feet of a public or private school. This has been verified by the surveyor, by Fuss and O'Neill. It's not located within 500 feet of any social services or treatment center. There is a buffer zone conflict, which has been acknowledged. It's about 100 feet shy of being within the buffer zone for another cannabis business. This business is a cultivation business, which is a very different business type and also complementary to my business type. The zoning regulations for Hyde Park are to provide density controls to protect and establish residential areas, and direct growth can be accommodated. So this area is all surrounded by other commercial businesses. So we talked about it being a neighborhood shopping district. This is just more information about the density control. And we talked about the buffer zone conflict, which has been acknowledged. So to the parking in the area, there's 5 dedicated employee spaces on site. There's an additional 8 shared employee spaces also on site. There is street parking on Hyde Park Ave. There's only 2 spots on River Street, but there is some street parking on River Street. There's dedicated rear access for delivery operations. The Hyde Park Commuter Rail MBTA station is across the street at One Pingree, and there is about 250 feet of walk. And that is for commuting because it is a commuter rail, but there's also an additional 121 parking spaces that is accessible to the public there. So this would be accessible to the dispensary as well. And there's also the MBTA bus stops of number 50 and number 32 which are right walking distance to the location. So there's a lot of commuter access and there is a lot of MBTA access and also walking distance. This just shows some of the information on the parking and how you can access it there. I won't go too much into that. This is a street view of the location in the area. That there will be access to have some signage on the top of the building there. So this is the overall floor plans. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I do have floor plans with security access and alarm systems. Since it's a public forum, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I have sent this information over and I'm willing to go over it in any other way needed. This is just a general traffic study of the area, Clary Square, and talking about the traffic count there. So we're just talking about that. I will have the consumers sign a responsible consumer pledge that they won't break the law. So they won't violate with illegal parking, loitering, littering, causing traffic, and of course with any type of consumption outside of the building. This is just going into some of the potential products and services that will be offered. As we mentioned with the manufacturing license, that will be an opportunity for entrepreneurship opportunities for local people to come in and get into the industry as well. So this is just talking about some of those products and how that could look. Online ordering will be available for fast pickup, and also the home delivery license will allow for home delivery. This is just some information regarding preventing nuisance and ID verification. This is just general information that we already know. Preventing diversion. Most of this has already been submitted, so I'm going over it just briefly with you. Secure storage, secure plans, limited access areas, all these things have been taken into account. Diversity and inclusion. Goals and programs. So I've already started, like I mentioned, some of these programs. We have some expungement clinics and opportunities available for education for the area, specifically focused for Hyde Park. We started some of those programs, like I mentioned, on August 7th. We had an event, expungement clinic, and this is just a measurement information. I'm not going to read through it because most of it is known for the industry. Just showing that I have taken these things into account. Continue to prioritize people of color, women, veterans, persons with disabilities, and LGBTQ community. Strive to develop and demonstrate execution of a diversity plan for positive impact, specifically for the area of Hyde Park and residents of Hyde Park. This shows some of the community feedback, and there is a letter of support from the district council. Like I mentioned, it does acknowledge the buffer zone conflict. I had meetings with the different neighborhood associations, specifically the Hyde Park Neighborhood Association, positive feedback, and with the Hyde Park Police Department, positive feedback. I've submitted 106 letters of support, and I've established a feedback loop with the community that I've met with, and by way of emails and contact with them. And this is a feedback loop for them to ask questions or to get more information about the business. And so far, those efforts have all been very successful. And that is it. I'm done sharing. I am available for questions. And again, thank you all for your time considering my business.
Thank you, Ms. Israel. We will now move on to questions from the board, starting with Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you. How many parking spots did you say you have in total?
So dedicated specifically is just 5, but
Okay.
there is public access parking directly on the street and right across the street, 250 feet away.
Okay. And how many employees do you expect to have?
Minimum 17 to 25, still working on some of the specifics, but.
Okay. I might follow up with you after the hearing with some specific questions I have on your security plan, but for reasons you discussed, I just don't want to talk about in a public forum.
Okay. And
I know, I'm sure you submitted it. I'm going to review your floor plans and then I might follow up in writing.
Okay. And then also I did want to mention that the architect and also the surveyor are on the call in case there were any specific questions about that, but also that could be done at a later date too.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't have any other questions at this time.
Thank you, Chairwoman Joyce. Commissioner Holmes, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do. What are your plans on the manufacturing side? What would you be manufacturing?
So the manufacturing side would start with very light manufacturing, some pre-roll machines and some infusion options. It wouldn't be the large manufacturing machines, but we'll start with a small scale, but that would give the opportunity for people to maybe who already have a brand or want to create a brand to come in and partner and have some opportunity there to bring them to market.
Oh, okay.
So
So
pre-rolls and infusions.
So you're gonna be manufacturing, infusing your own pre-rolls, and so it's no food, it's no edibles. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, got it. It's potential that it could be edibles. It would be a small scale. It wouldn't be any large food. There's a
Okay.
small kitchen there, and when we do the renovations, we'll build a little bit on that. But yes, potentially some edibles. Gummies. Probably not consumables, certain like brownies, but yes.
Okay, so you're thinking out of the box, large scale because of what you have there. So you're just preparing for the future, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I
that's a
got
great way
you.
to put it.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Commissioner Smith, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Thank you, Allison. Hi, Ms. Israel. You're conducting 50 hours of educational seminars, so targeted to residents or folks that you're hiring? How's that working? Because it's in your employment plan.
Yes, so that were, well, actually for both, there is some plans for resident education around real estate, business and cannabis. And then also there would be education for employees to expand in their preferred area. So say if it was a bud tender that may be interested in some manufacturing even, and they want some classes pertaining to that. So I would allow some time for that or allocate some funds to allow them to, further their education in their preferred area.
So this is continuous education for folks you've hired.
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't see the real estate. It says marijuana cultivation, product manufacturing, and retailing. So the real estate aspect is why that? Just asking.
Okay, I'm sorry if I did go briefly over that portion, but I am a real estate agent. I've been a real estate agent for 2.
I'm listening. Sorry. Yeah.
Ms. Israel, you're on mute.
Okay, so it was me. So I have a strong background in real estate and with different business types as well. So I have a background in business and real estate, and with the new cannabis industry, there's so much to learn and know. So that would be kind of where that came from. That was more for the residents, and like you mentioned, for the employees, it would be more for them to further their education in their field.
Okay. You mentioned 17 to 25 people in terms of the whole integrated business product
Yes.
and all that. Okay.
Yes, because with the home delivery, it's a minimum of 2 drivers, at a time per trip. So, with that being said, even, with possibly like 2 shifts, 2 drivers, that's already 4, right there. So a lot of it's going towards the extra for delivery, but yes, either way, that's why it'd probably be closer to the 25, because a lot of that would be going for the extra for the delivery.
And where are you starting at in terms of salary?
I would love to keep everyone over $25 per hour. We discussed that potentially the drivers may be between 20 and 25, but we're working on that still to keep everyone above 25, but everyone would definitely be above 20.
Everyone starting at around 20 to 25?
Yes, dollars per hour. Yes.
And all in terms of the whole integrated company.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Are you offering any sort of like bus pass or those kinds of things, Charlie card, and any other thing to incentivize in terms of employees?
Yeah, so I'll be working with an HR partner who actually would have full employee benefits. That would include healthcare as well. And yes, it would potentially include MBTA pass depending on their preferred transportation because right across the street is a commuter rail. So it could be
Yeah,
a
that's what
commuter.
I was thinking about.
Yes, right. And actually, another benefit to that is that there is a lot of parking there. The 121 spaces is on one side, but there's other parking that's MBTA parking. So if they have that pass, they would have free parking on the other lot as well. Not that they would probably need it with the 121, but it just would open up additional parking, additional opportunities. So yes, we've talked about the MBTA pass or commuter rail pass.
And last question, you talked about building out a DEI scorecard and to traction and leverage metrics. Are you building that out? You're working with someone to do that?
So not yet, but we've been in talks with how can we structure something like that, because, we'll be very big on having the feedback to, to the goals that we set. So we've talked about it and we've started to make plans for it, but it hasn't finalized yet. But yes,
But you're talking about it with who?
that's the adaptive HR, who's actually handling all the HR for the entire business. And that's also who we bring in, say, like the healthcare to the employees and kind of all the benefits that will be available. So that's why I'm working out a program like that with.
So adaptive HR is building out the benefits in terms of that. And
Yes.
the DEI. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Camacho, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Commissioner Smith took all my questions regarding your employment plan, but
Yes.
just to clarify, how many full-time and part-time employees will you have?
So I believe it will probably be at least 6 part-time employees. Haven't fully built that out, but I do believe that the drivers are going to be more on a part-time basis, just because it's, with the 2 drivers, separate shifts, it's potentially like 6-hour shifts each. And so we're still working at specifics on that, but more than likely that would be the delivery drivers, which would be anywhere from 6 to 8 of the employees would be towards that.
And full-time inside the facility?
Yes, full-time inside the facility and full-time security, yes.
Okay, great. And you already answered the question regarding living wage, impressive. And although this is a relative term, affordable healthcare, including dental and vision?
So we haven't gone over the specific numbers, but yes, they've been in the industry for a long time, adaptive HR, and they have these programs already in place, and they have such a wide range of people that they deal with that they're able to keep everything, at a low cost. So I don't know the exact number specifically, but yes, we have been, working to keep that, and that would possibly be a shared cost, just depending on how that exactly will be set up. So.
Thank you, Ms. Israel. That's all I have.
Thank you as well.
Thank you. Now we will move to public testimony, beginning with elected officials or the representatives.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. Our office hosted a community meeting. There was a variety of opinions expressed. Some expressed opposition due to concerns about the proposal being close to several schools, including Roxbury Prep High School and the Henry Grew Elementary School. There were also concerns expressed regarding potential traffic and congestion being added to that area, which is currently impacted by the River Street Bridge shutdown, as well as concerns about parking and just questions surrounding surrounding security in the area, excuse me. Belno Family Neighborhood Association, the Hyde Park Neighborhood Association were present at our community meeting and asked questions regarding community benefits and pledged to work with stakeholders, neighborhood groups, and orgs in Hyde Park to see what other concerns the community would have. There was also several residents who also expressed support for the proposal, citing the addition of a Black-owned business in the neighborhood and also the proponents' extensive ties to the community. They also felt that this would bring more jobs and resources to the Hyde Park neighborhood as well. It would be economically beneficial to the community. There were some extra questions about ADA accessibility and whether the same experience is offered to all persons wanting to access the dispensary and if there would be elevators available. The applicant also went on to reach out with the Grove Park Neighborhood Association and met with Hyde Park Neighborhood Association July 13th, as you've heard from the proponent. They also connected with the Hyde Park Main Streets and the Hyde Park Board of Trade. We've received 2 additional letters of opposition and 1 letter of support, which we will be forwarding to the board. With that, we'll defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Connor. Is there anyone else from an elected official or the representative that would like to provide testimony at this time? Seeing none, again, our chat function is disabled. So if there is anybody else who would like to testify, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing no additional requests to speak, the board will take this matter under advisement. Those were all of the matters before the board today. The board's voting meeting will take place next Wednesday, August 16th at 1 p.m. The information to access the voting hearing will be on our website, boston.gov/cannabis. Again, the record will be kept open until next Tuesday, August 15th at 5 p.m. Thank you all for attending today's hearing and enjoy the rest of your day.